The coldest air of the season is set to invade the eastern half of the United States, and we are tracking 3 winter storms that will impact areas east of the Rockies this coming week. All this and more next at the Weather Farm. Welcome to the Weather Farm. We have your weekend weather in store, so let's dive right into the details. As we look at our Friday morning, we have an area of low pressure that is centered north of the Canadian border. It's bringing snow to parts of western Ontario. Generally 3 to 6 inches is expected. Along our far south, we have an area of rain in far southern Florida. Light showers are expected. And out west, we continue to have dry conditions stretching from British Columbia all the way down to the California coast. We are continuing to monitor the California wildfires that are impacting the Los Angeles area. Now up to 27 deaths have been reported. But we see strong southwesterly winds across the Central Plains into the Ohio Valley. This is going to bring temperatures above freezing for some areas for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. There could be some melting happening here, but we have this Arctic air that is set to move across the United States. As we make our way into our Saturday morning, that Arctic air is definitely on the move, and it has brought rain to places through Illinois to Indiana, and by Saturday morning, you could be changing over to snow to places like Indianapolis, to Columbus, up to Cleveland. Down south along the Mississippi and Alabama into Georgia, we have heavy rain. A rumble or two of thunder could be in the cards as well for your Saturday morning. This is all connected with an area of low pressure that is dragging that Arctic air into the eastern half of the United States for this upcoming work week. And out west, we do have some scattered showers, snow showers across the Intermountain West. Again, nothing too significant to worry about for your Saturday. In terms of the snowfall from that system, once the system turns over to snow, the cold air will not reach into Illinois fast enough before the moisture moves out. So we're seeing light dusting amounts across parts of Illinois. But through Indiana, we could see north of I-70 a general 1 to 2 inch snowfall amounts, the same as we move into Ohio. Up across the UP, we're going to have lake-enhanced snowfall amounts 12 to 18 inches, as well as in northern Michigan, around places like Traverse City, we could see several inches of snow. And then we're going to watch that area of low pressure as that Arctic front extends. We're going to form another area of low pressure across the south on our Sunday. This is going to start to move up the east coast, and it's going to bring heavy snow from places like New Jersey through New York, Connecticut, up into Maine by the time we get to Monday. Taking a little bit closer look, here we have the snow moving into Pennsylvania by Sunday morning. That area of low pressure is moving off the shore of Delaware. And if it stays on this path right along the coast, then we are going to see snowfall along the coastline with this particular system. I will tell you there is a lot of uncertainty in the modeling with this particular system. How far close it stays to the coast? Does it move a little bit inland and we get more rain in places like New Jersey, Long Island, the Connecticut coast? Or as this model predicts, does it just hug the coast and bring snow for most areas, the heavier snow being west of the I-95 corridor? Or is it a little bit further out into the ocean and not bringing as much snow to the northeast? A lot to be determined, but the solution that we feel right now is the one that does hug the coast a little bit better. And so by the time we get to Monday morning, the areas closer and east of the I-95 corridor, closer to the coast, there's going to be a sharp gradient of the snowfall amounts. We could see 1 to 2 inches across parts of Delaware, into Maryland, into southern New Jersey. West of the I-95 corridor, into Philadelphia, into Trenton, New York City, we could see a general 3 to 5 inches. As we get further north and east, we could see heavier snows across parts of Massachusetts into New Hampshire, into Maine, where we could see 5 to 7 inches of snow likely. We will have isolated pockets near the lakes that will have some lake-enhanced snow bands as that low-pressure system wraps counterclockwise as it spins through northern Quebec. So we could see some lake effect snow. a lot to be watched and determined. The track of this system will have a big impact on the snowfall amounts with this particular system. Again, if this system just moves 20 miles inland, we're going to see that heavier axis of snow shift further west, and we're going to see more rain along the coast. But right now, we see this as an all-snow event for the coast of New Jersey into Long Island and then out to the Cape. So as we move into our next week, we're going to see an area of trough weather. This is what's going to bring the Arctic air down out of Canada into the Ohio Valley. It's going to bring the coldest temperatures that we have seen in nearly 4 to 5 years for many places east of the Rockies. We're also going to start watching as this core of the cold moves east. We're going to watch a buckle here that's going to happen in Arizona, moving into New Mexico by the time we get to Monday evening. This little buckle that we're going to see right here is going to set the stage to bring a winter weather event to the Gulf Coast as we get towards our Tuesday, and it's going to slide east. We're going to have another reinforcing jab of colder air make its way out of Canada across the Central Plains to the eastern half of the United States by the time we get to next weekend. And so we see that moving here across the Central Plains. So we're going to have a lot of cold air and reinforcing jabs of cold air over the next week over the eastern half of the United States. And we see that with our temperature anomaly. We have the warmer air across the Ohio Valley for our Friday, but right behind it is that cold air making its way down out of Canada. This is of Arctic origin. This is a branch of the Polar Vortex. We are going to have temperatures that are going to dive to 20 to 30 degrees below zero across the northern plains. And we're even going to get 20s and teens all the way down to the coast. And we see that that core of the cold air makes it all the way down to the Gulf Coast. That is going to help aid in as that buckle begins to form and move across the Gulf Coast to bring snow, freezing rain, and ice to the far deep south. And this cold lasts through our Wednesday into Thursday. We get a little bit of a break, but here comes that next batch, as I was mentioning. It's starting to organize over parts of Saskatchewan and the Rockies, and it's going to continue to move east as we go into next weekend. So let's take a look at this setup across the southeast. By the time we get to early Tuesday morning, we have snow moving into southern Louisiana. We do see some purples and pinks, so that's the ice moving in. And as that area, that low pressure moves, it's going to bring snow into the panhandle of Florida, places like Tallahassee, ice across southern Georgia. But by the time we get to Wednesday morning, all of this is moving offshore. So we could definitely see some significant winter weather impacts. Some models do want to have this a little more aggressive. We do think that we will see 1 to 2 inches of snow across parts of southern Louisiana, into Mississippi, and to Alabama. And I think the GFS really highlights that area. The waters of the Gulf are still pretty warm, so even as that low pressure moves out and across the Gulf Coast, it's going to be moving in that counterclockwise rotation. And so it's going to pull in some of that warmer air. So that's going to limit the snowfall amounts across the Gulf Coast. But you get 20, 30 miles inland, we could easily see a swath of 1 to 2 inches. And that swath will extend up towards the Carolinas, where we could see heavier amounts. But before that system makes its way east, parts of Texas, we could see 2 to 4 inches by the time we get to Monday night into our Tuesday. In terms of our temperatures, again, as I mentioned, we are going to have some of the coldest weather. Parts of Saskatchewan Monday morning are going to be 35 to 40 degrees below zero, 20 degrees below zero across parts of North Dakota, single digits extending all the way down into the Tennessee Valley, and the freezing line all the way down to the Gulf Coast. As we make our way into Tuesday morning, and this is what I believe will be the coldest morning across the United States for this coming week. Widespread 20s and 30 degrees below zero across the upper plains, teens and 20s for the Mountain West, Southern California. You stay relatively seasonal, but that cold air, again, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And we really see it here with our wind chill map. You take those cold temperatures, you add the winds into it, wind chills 50, 55, 60 degrees below zero for parts of this country, upper Midwest, and into Ontario as we begin our Tuesday morning. Wind chills down into the teens along the Gulf Coast. But our temperatures, our actual temperatures as we move to Wednesday, we start to see a moderating trend. 20s are kind of rising back up. The single digits and sub-zero are moving into the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. They're moving into parts of Quebec. But we still have, with that winter weather system, teens and 20s down along southern Georgia. And again, into Thursday morning, we see the core of the cold from southern Georgia through the Carolinas into the Northeast. We start to see a warming trend across parts of Texas with lows in the 50s and 60s, and again, warm out west as we begin. But signs of that next Arctic blast are already beginning to take shape as we look into our Friday morning lows with widespread sub-zero temperatures across Montana and the Dakotas. They're going to make their way east for that upcoming weekend. And the Climate Prediction Center verifies what we are thinking. After we get through next weekend, we're going to continue to see one more week of cooler than normal temperatures across most of the United States. We did talk about this in our last couple of videos, that there were signs that the pattern change could change at the end of January. It looks like it's been moved out now a few more days, more towards the first couple days of February. With the colder than normal temperatures in place across most of the country, we're also expecting above normal precipitation for the last week of January. So colder temperatures and above normal precipitations, we're going to be watching places from Colorado through the Kansas, Missouri, into the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast, and even the upper plains. Where could a possible snowstorm set up? A lot of models are all over the place, especially we're 2 weeks out, but this is something we're going to be watching. Across the southeast, depending how far south that cold air does move, we're either going to see heavy rain or we could see a mix as we get into the Tennessee Valley. Our early look at the month of February does show that across the Central Plains and into the Ohio Valley, we have equal chances of seeing above or below normal temperatures, warmer than normal temperatures from places like Arizona through Texas along the southeast. But it is that northern tier, and now extending back into Washington and Oregon, where we could see below normal temperatures. For the month of January, those below normal temperatures have been focused east of the Rockies and really east of the Mississippi River. But now we're starting to see a trough and colder air spilling into the western part of the United States. And in terms of precipitation, we are in that La Nina pattern, so we're going to start to see more atmospheric rivers impacting the Pacific Northwest. Above normal precipitation is expected for the month of February. Unfortunately, for our friends down in Southern California, we are expecting lower than normal precipitation for the month of February. And even across parts of West Texas into Southern Texas, a much higher chance of below normal precipitation for this area, extending along the Gulf Coast and down into Florida. But the Ohio Valley is expected to have a higher than normal chance of above normal precipitation for the month of February. If we see those jabs of cold air hit at the right time that moisture is being transported to this area, February could continue to be a snowy month for places like the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valley, and the northern Great Lakes. A lot to watch and monitor over the next several weeks, and we will bring you the latest here at the Weather Farm. We hope you have a wonderful week, and we hope you found this video informative. If you did, like, share, subscribe, click that bell notification icon so you're notified every time we produce a new video here at the Weather Farm. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.